Greetings and welcome to Crypto with Guru, the channel where we discuss the amazing world of cryptocurrency and blockchain technology. I am Commodore Gurpreet Dhillon, and today we are going to discuss about an intriguing question: whether Bitcoin will touch $1 million. Well, my emphatic answer is yes. But the bigger question is whether Bitcoin will touch $1 million in 90 days. That's right, 90 days. In this video, we are going to discuss whether Bitcoin is on the verge of historic breakthrough and why you cannot afford to miss out on this opportunity. In a series of tweets, Ballaji Srinivasan has made a bold prediction that Bitcoin will explode to $1 million in 90 days. Who is Ballaji Srinivasan and what makes him so confident about his predictions? We will dive deeper into his background and explore the factors that could lead to this momentous event. Don't be left standing on the sidelines, regretting what could have been. Watch this video till the very end and hit the like and subscribe button, along with the bell icon to stay updated with our latest content. Ballaji Srinivasan is a billionaire entrepreneur and an angel investor who previously served as the Chief Technology Officer at Coinbase and a general partner at venture capital firm Andreessen Horowitz. In a recent series of tweets, Balaji discusses the current banking crisis and how it has emerged due to lies told by not just the bankers but the regulators too. He says the crisis is worse than 2008 banking sector collapse. As per him, the collapse of banks was a result of first, the treasuries giving loans at near 0% and then suddenly increasing the interest rate to unprecedented levels. As a result of which, prior to the interest rate hikes, banks binged on government bonds by borrowing at a rate of 1.75%. And then sudden increase meant they were holding nearly worthless treasury bonds. This led to liquidity crisis in banks and investors were quick to panic and rest, as they say, is history. What, as per Balaji, is of serious concern is that the Fed's proposal of injecting $2 trillion to bail out the banks from the money it does not possess. Already over 300 billion has been printed in the last week, reversing the gains of a decade-long tight monetary policy. This process is likely to continue if more banks collapse, which will result into hyperinflation and shattering of the US economy. If that happens, investors should seriously consider putting their investments in Bitcoin. This threat of banking sector meltdown puts Bitcoin in a position to rapidly ascend in value against the dollar. While some may scoff at Balaji's predictions, but he's not the only one who believes in Bitcoin's potential for meteoric rise. In a recent interview with Bloomberg, ARK Invest CEO Cathie discussed the current banking turmoil and Bitcoin predictions. According to her, the target price for Bitcoin for 2030 in a conservative scenario could be as high as $250,000 and may even touch $1.5 million. Cathie further explains how people consider Bitcoin a flight to safety option from the banking crisis and how institutional investors are slowly allocating small portions of their funds towards investments in Bitcoin and crypto. As a billionaire, CEO of ARK Invest, Cathie's views hold weight in the financial world. Let's listen to an interview clip on Bitcoin and current banking crisis.
I think the most dramatic example of it to us was the behavior of Bitcoin last week. It absolutely took off. It was a flight to safety vehicle. And so it is really proof of concept that innovation solves problems. There are, in Bitcoin, fully decentralized, fully transparent, auditable, which is addressing all of the banking's problems right now. And so a flight to safety, a little bit of an insurance policy. There's no central point of failure in Bitcoin.
Caroline, ARK has 2030 calls on Bitcoin, the most bullish case around 1.5 million on Bitcoin, the most bearish around 250,000 on Bitcoin. Somewhere in the middle you have around 682,200. That is the sort of base case there. interesting at a time when no one is making that kind of long-term projection.
Yeah, and Cathie, we know you're a long-term investor with long-term calls, but what on earth gets us to that bull case of almost $1.5 million per Bitcoin if a bank crisis doesn't?
One of the things that happens in a crisis is liquidity dries up. So that tends to hurt assets. And the fact that Bitcoin moved in a very different way from the equity markets in particular but we do believe that the behavior of the price through this crisis is going to attract more institutions, for example. We've done a report targeting institutional investors and the allocation that they should make if they care about this new asset class diversifying their portfolios. And I believe it's somewhere between 2.5% and 6.5%. So not crazy. These are the sorts of allocations they would have made to emerging new categories of assets like real estate in the 70s, emerging markets, and small cap in the 80s and 90s.
The US economy and the US dollar are under attack not just domestically but also internationally. Robert Kiyosaki, best known as the author of Rich Dad Poor Dad, feels that the current situation in US is spooky. He sent out 2 emergency broadcasts to the American community where he talks about how the American banks and regulators are deceiving the people from knowing the truth. In the second broadcast, he talks about fact that because US dollar was reserve currency, US has been acting like a bully from decades. However, the dominance of US dollar as the reserve currency is now under threat. Finally, the rest of the world has said enough is enough and they are now looking at alternative system like BRIC. Let us now watch the excerpts from 2 podcasts from Robert Kiyosaki.
Now a credit-based economy. In other words, we print fake money and we spread it throughout the world. But the rest of the world is actually producing the food, the gold, the silver, the machinery, and all this. So finally, the rest of the world said, enough's enough. So I remember years ago, because I operate in South Africa a lot. I love South Africa. But they joined the BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. That was the original BRICS. And now they're gaining force and momentum. And I think people have heard the word BRICS, but very few people know ¿Qué pasa? What caused the BRICS to form, Andy?
Well, I think.
But what does it mean to us? Because otherwise, so what?
Right. Well, and I think by the end of this discussion, people will certainly understand it. But you're right. Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa comprise the BRICS, and these are countries that are uniting in common interests and doing it without the bullying, if you will, of the Western hegemony. And they're beginning to set themselves apart from the rest of the world. And, what really started me, my awareness to this was the rise of the Chinese Belt Road and Rail Initiative, which my awareness to this was the rise of the Chinese Belt Road and Rail Initiative, which is the largest infrastructure and human project.
Wait. Go back to the BRICS.
Not only from a GDP, but you put all these countries together and their military might is very, very strong as well. And those are the BRICS plus. Now they're talking about adding more countries, including Costa Rica, El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, Panama, Bolivia, Chile, Cuba, Ecuador, Peru, Uruguay, Venezuela, Azerbaijan, Mongolia, Kazakhstan, Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, and Vietnam. The list goes on and on and on. And
okay. So what that means is right now they're dealing in this.
Correct.
In 1944, this became the reserve currency of the world right after World War II at the Bretton Woods, New Hampshire. Like I said, this is toilet paper today because this is now fake money. So the rest of the world is saying, enough of you sending us your toilet paper.
That's exactly right.
You take our materials, you take our production, you take this, and you send us this trash here. So that's right. What Andy is talking about is so crucial. An average person can't see it. So now can you go into the Belt and Road project because that's the
right. And
in the world.
Equally as important to being forced to take the dollar is if you are on the wrong side of the Western on the Western ideology, then you get sanctioned, you get kicked out of SWIFT. And this, the weaponizing of the dollar, I think is what has accelerated the union of.
Hello, Robert Kiyosaki. This is emergency podcast number 2. I hope there's not a number 3, but I tell you, that saying, may you live in interesting times. I think this is interesting, spooky, and empire changing. I think we're watching the end of the American empire. And there's a law called Gresham's Law. And Gresham's Law says bad money drives out good money. So
the current global economic climate is a cause of concern for many individuals and businesses worldwide. Inflation, the devaluation of currencies, and faulty financial policies are leading to collapse in economies. As a result, people are increasingly turning to alternative assets such as Bitcoin as a way to protect their wealth and investments. While Ballaji Srinivasan's predictions may be disputed, the fact remains that Bitcoin value has been on an upward trend. Despite the potential of Bitcoin value to increase significantly, a 1 million valuation in 90 days is highly unlikely and possibly would result into catastrophe. However, with a conservative estimate, Bitcoin value is predicted to triple by the end of 2023 and rise to 5 to 10 times by 2030. For your information, Bitcoin is currently priced at little over 28,000. In conclusion, it is clear Bitcoin's value is on the rise. What you choose to do with the information is your choice. All I can say is choose wisely. Finally, as a disclaimer, I must say that the information shared on this channel is only for information purposes. Please do your due diligence before investing. See you next week with another video in the amazing world of cryptocurrencies and blockchain technologies. Until then, goodbye and thank you.